couple of days ago, whilst I was thinking about what I'm going to be saying today, I decided to ask ChatGPT to define what leadership is in 10 words. And it came up with influencing others to achieve goals through vision, guidance, and inspiration. Now, a few years ago, I remember going to an NHS Digital meeting, and this was NHS Digital people there, and they were asking the question to GPs in the audience, what piece of IT has had the biggest impact for you in terms of your working life, working day? And they were expecting us to say something about maybe perhaps our GP IT system, EMIS or System 1, perhaps it was Summary Care Record, perhaps it was the NHS version, the World Wide Web, perhaps it was EPS and things. But time and time again, GPs turned around and said, AccuRx. They'd never heard of what AccuRx was. And when they said, well, it's this thing that came through WhatsApp, and you could download it, install it on your computer, and suddenly you could start sending text messages to your patients within 5 minutes without having to go on a training course or getting permission from so-and-so or waiting for an IT department to come and install things. They just couldn't understand what that was all about and why they thought it was such a great thing. But all of us in the room have seen how AccuRx has completely transformed the way we do things. Well, this year, I had a bit of a deja vu when I got introduced to Heidi Health. Has anyone used Heidi Health at all? Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of us here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Heidi Health. It's a bit of a mixture of excitement and disappointment. Exciting because it truly is mind-blowing when you first come across it and listen to what it does. And what it basically does is you have again, it's a text message that came through on my WhatsApp. You can't download the software, but it's a URL on a website. You open it up, you switch on the microphone, and then it just sits and records, or rather it listens to what the patient has to say, either face-to-face, or if they're doing it over the telephone, you just put the microphone on, and it just listens to the conversations that we are having. You don't have to change the way you talk, the patient doesn't have to do anything different. But at the end of the consultation, when you hit the transcribe button or transfer button, it converts using AI into a medical note that you can then copy and paste into the medical record. And if you've not experienced it, it is mind-blowing. It's unbelievable. When I first started using it, I thought, my God, this is going to save me an hour of time, an hour to give back to me so that I can then spend on doing other parts of other pieces of work. And so I thought at first it was just the best thing since ever. And then I sort of asked my partners to start using it, and they weren't quite as mind-blown about it. They were somewhat underwhelmed by what it did. And part of the reason for that was because the way they work, the way they think, they'll ask a question to a patient, and the answer that the patient gives will get them to think about what the next question is and the next question, and as they slowly build up a picture. And you can't really do that when you're just having a conversation, you're not thinking, you're not writing down on the computer what you're thinking about. And so it was partly mind-blowing, and it was partly not. It was partly underwhelming. And I started to think about, where does the AI fit into what we are trying to do? I guess there'll be some of us who are evangelists who think it's absolutely fantastic, and then there'll be the party poopers who go, no way, I'm not doing this. I guess we'll only find out as time passes by. I thought it was great, I've stopped using it, so I guess I'm one of the party poopers on the other side of things. It's not ready yet, but it might be. But then recently, we use Teams when we're having our practice partners meetings. And I don't know if you use Teams and realise, but there's something called Microsoft Copilot, which will actually listen to the conversations that are going on, and it'll transcribe it all. And so a couple of weeks ago, we decided to have a go with that. We had a partners meeting, it was an hour long, and then 30 seconds later, my practice manager, once the meeting had finished, switched on the Copilot, and it transcribed the whole text of all of us that we talked in that 1 hour. There was 54 pages of writing in there. Now, who's going to read 54 pages and put you off, right? However, I took half of it, stuck it in ChatGPT, and said, can you please convert this into some notes in about 10 lines or so? And in about 30 seconds, it reduced it down to 2 minutes worth of what we talked about. And again, it was just incredible. The reason I share these stories for you is that AI is not going to replace us, but certainly it could enhance what we are doing. It could make things a little bit more safer, a bit more productive, make things a bit more efficient, and maybe perhaps make our jobs a little bit more joyful. The kind of things that we're thinking about, surely there must be a way of making this job that we're doing a bit easier. However, this year somehow feels somewhat different to how it's been for the last 20, 25 years. Winter's approaching. Many of our colleagues have left to pastures new. The budget we've just had has just been delivered, and it's even more bad news, isn't it? People have been talking to me today about the NIC and what that means and what's going to happen. It's all a bit of doom and gloom. So what can I share with you? Well, if you were on top of the world and everything was going swimmingly and everything was perfect, and you had very high levels of self-esteem, then you'd be looking for the next big thing that's round the corner, and you'd be thinking about how I can introduce that. And having been told how wonderful and how mind-blowing it is, the likelihood is that you're going to feel even better about using it. But on the other hand, if you're feeling downtrodden, if you're feeling tired, if you feel as though the whole world is against you and your self-esteem is low, our human brains, look at the reality of the world around us. And when a person comes along and says, this is brilliant, when you know it's not, the opposite happens. Instead of lifting you up and making you feel more positive, your self-esteem drops and you feel even worse about it. And you feel demoralized, and you're sitting there looking at this person with their rose-tinted spectacles and thinking, I don't really buy what you're saying, you're actually making me feel worse. So what does work with someone like that, who's feeling so downtrodden? Well, it's the small things that make the difference. It's the little, almost imperceptible things that we see around us that others may not know about or even notice. But we talk about them. We raise awareness of them. We focus on what is working and try a little bit harder and a little bit harder, until one day we realise we're the ones who are actually making that change happen. We're moving from a place of this can't work towards, well, maybe we could try that. 6 years ago, I was sat at my desk thinking I'm changing the world, I'm making things better for everybody, everything's going really, really well. And yet, sat at my desk, the staff had all gone, I was looking through my test results, and we were diagnosing 1 to 3 people with diabetes every week, and 3 to 5 people with pre-diabetes every week. Now, everyone in my family has got diabetes, so I'm a sitting duck for diabetes. And believe you me, when I come into work, I get in the car, I drive in, I park underneath the surgery itself, I walk up to my room, I fire up the computer with 3 screens in front of me, and I am firmly planted on that seat all day, such that by the end of the day, I probably only walked about 200 to 500 steps. And there's me thinking, I'm changing the world for everybody, and yet really, I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is heading for diabetes. And so I came home and I said to my beautiful wife that we're going to start a walking group. And she said, why? And I said, because I've got a feeling that there'll be other people that want to go for a walk. So we started walking, and we would go on beautiful sunny days. And on the days when it was cold and it was wet and it was dark and you didn't feel like going, we said, oh, let's leave it. But what we noticed was on those days, we'd end up just watching television, eating sweets and crisps and chocolates and things like that, watching Netflix and things. But there's a saying among cyclists that there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing. And it was my wife who turned around and said, do you know, this is daft, we've got all the kit and caboodle, it doesn't matter whether it's raining or snowing or windy or whatever it is, let's just get out there and go walking. And so 3 years ago, we started walking every Saturday, every Sunday, no matter what the weather's like or whatever it might be. But even then, there were some days I would go on a walk, really enjoyed the walk, but we'd only done 5,000 or 6,000 steps. And I'd be disappointed, and I'd think, oh, I've not done the requisite 10,000 steps that we're supposed to do. But as time passed by, I started hearing, and I started sharing my life, so-and-so's left, so-and-so's decided to cut back. They've gone from 5 days down to 3 days. They've switched from being a partner to a locum. They've left the country, they've left medicine completely. And she asked me the question, so why are people leaving? And there was a part of me that said, I don't know, because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And then I started to wonder, well, of course I did sort of know from an LMC point of view, but personally, from my point of view, even though I was working really, really hard, I I was enjoying things. And it started to dawn on me that even though I might have only been doing 5,000 or 6,000 steps on a Saturday and Sunday, those 2 days of walking were lifting me up, and there was something greater than the number of steps used or the number of calories burned that was helping me to keep going, that was building my own resilience, that was giving me something positive to look forwards to, building me up so that even if I did start to drop a little during the week, I always had another walk to look forwards to or to come to. This weekend we're going to be doing a walk in Ilkley for about 6 hours. If anyone wants to join, more than welcome to. And on Sunday I'm going to be doing Lyme Park. But there's always something forward to, something really positive to look forward to. And what I began to realise is it really doesn't matter about where the place is or how many steps you're walking. It's about being together. It's about having a plan to go somewhere. It's chatting along as we go on a journey, one day at a time. And surely enough, as we go, something magical happens. We find a pleasure, a warmth, a sense of hope and belonging that lifts us up, ready for the trials and tribulations of the week to come, knowing that at the end of the week, there'll be another walk, and another one, and another one. Now, I'm sure you all know what the benefits of exercise and walking are. There are physical benefits, there are mental benefits, emotional well-being. Physical benefits include reducing your risk of heart disease, lowering your blood pressure, improving cholesterol, weight management, muscle and bone strength, improving your metabolism, enhancing your immunity. In terms of mental health, it's reducing your anxiety and depression. It's improving your cognitive function so that you enhance your brain function, you improve your memory, you reduce the risk of cognitive decline. It's reducing your stress levels. It's about emotional well-being, improving your mood, enhancing sleep, increasing your energy levels. And then the social benefits, social interaction, providing opportunities to socialise with people. Remember when I'm sat in my GP surgery from morning to night, I might be talking to patients, but I'm essentially on my own, just working morning to night. And yet when the weekends come and we go for a walk, there's an opportunity to meet with other people. And there's something about community engagement, engaging with the community that's around you. And then of course, healthy habits to improve your lifestyle and longevity. And we know that with that, regular exercise is linked to longer lifespan and improved quality of life. The very things that we're trying to sell to our patients with drugs and referrals and everything else, and yet something as simple as just going for a walk can make such a big difference. So the next time somebody asks me, what's the antidote to all these problems in the world? I just say, let's just go for a walk. So, I would like you all to now stand up. I'd like you to come around here. And we're going to go for a walk together. And if you can, try and find someone that you don't know. Let's just line up along here. And have a chat with whoever it is. So if you all line up in a straight line, you know like they do at school and we all just have it. Yeah. And you see, you naturally start to talk to people, just like anyone else. Okay, so we're now going to have a little walk. We're going to walk around the room. And as you're walking, just try and find out a little bit about the person that you're My job is done. Everyone's happy. Thank you. got you all excited now, haven't I? Just by simply going for a walk. Hope you enjoyed that. So of course, if I left it as this, then that would be just a nice little story, and it's always nice to go for a walk. But what has changed? The workload is still a mountain high. More people are leaving. There's more pressure and responsibility on our shoulders, with even less resources. When the proportion of the budget for primary care drops from 11% in 2018 to 6%, no amount of walking is really going to fix that. And so for that reason, it brings me great pleasure to invite our guest speaker, Dr. Amir Hannan. Dr. Amir Hannan is a GP and Deputy Chair of GPC England. She's worked as a portfolio GP in Manchester and is a Clinical Director for Manchester City Centre and Anco's PCA. She holds a non-executive director position on the board of the local foundation trust. She's a Deputy Chair of the BMA GP Committee in England and has been a representative on GPC for the past 12 years. She was the policy lead for education, training and workforce for 4 years and chaired the National GP Trainees Committee during the 2016 Junior Doctor contracting position. She subsequently negotiated the GP trainee work schedules with NHS employers. Last year, she co-chaired the sessional committee and organised the sessional conference. Samira is Vice Chair of Manchester LMC and has been a member for the past 14 years, starting as a trainee rep. Locally, she's worked as a CCG neighbourhood lead and as GP Federation workforce lead. Her long-standing interests include, but are not limited to, training, workforce and health policy. She recently completed an NIHR in Practice Fellowship at the University of Manchester and is looking forward to submitting her MPH dissertation later this year, unless she's done it already.
No.
Still done?
No,
Okay.
telling Rebecca.
Dr. Samira, the floor is yours. Thank you.